The air was still heavy with grief when India launched Operation Sindoor. Just days earlier, the idyllic town of Pahalgam, nestled in the Indian-administered Kashmir Valley, had been shattered by a horrific terrorist attack. The carnage, claimed by the Pakistan-based militant group the Resistance Front, left 26 innocent people dead, most of them Indian tourists. The attack sent shockwaves through India, igniting public outrage and demands for a decisive response. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to avenge the deaths, promising a response that would be swift and unforgiving. Intelligence reports pointed to more attacks in the pipeline, with groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, both with alleged ties to Pakistan's intelligence agency, preparing to strike again. Faced with what it perceived as an imminent threat, India decided to act preemptively and with force. Operation Sindoor, as it came to be known, was India's answer. It was a calculated gamble, a high-stakes move designed to punish those responsible for the Pahalgam attack and to deter future aggression. The message was clear. India would not hesitate to strike at what it considered terrorist safe havens, even if it meant crossing the line of control and venturing deep inside Pakistan. The decision to strike was not taken lightly. The risks were enormous, the potential for escalation terrifyingly real. India and Pakistan, both nuclear-armed nations, had gone to war 3 times since their independence in 1947, their shared history stained with bloodshed and mistrust. Yet, in the wake of the Pahalgam attack, the Indian government felt it had no choice. The stakes were too high, the threat too real, and the need for retribution too great. In the pre-dawn darkness of May 7, 2025, at precisely 1:05 a.m. local time, Indian fighter jets roared into the skies. Their target 9 suspected terrorist camps and training facilities located deep inside Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The operation, shrouded in secrecy, had been meticulously planned. Indian intelligence agencies had spent weeks identifying and pinpointing targets, using satellite imagery and on-the-ground intelligence to minimize civilian casualties. The first missiles slammed into their targets with deadly precision. Explosions lit up the night sky, sending plumes of smoke and debris billowing into the air. For the next 25 minutes, the Indian jets pounded their targets relentlessly, unleashing a barrage of missiles and bombs. The roar of the explosions echoed across the valley, a terrifying testament to the destructive power unleashed. Indian officials were quick to claim success. They insisted that the strikes had been precise and effective, targeting only terrorist infrastructure and causing no civilian casualties. They released grainy aerial footage of buildings being obliterated, claiming they were training camps and weapons depots used by Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. Pakistan, however, painted a very different picture. They acknowledged the strikes but denied that any terrorist camps had been hit. Instead, they claimed that Indian missiles had struck civilian areas, including mosques, killing 26 innocent people and injuring 46 others. They released their own images showing the mangled bodies of women and children, victims, they claimed, of Indian aggression. The operation's name, Sindoor, added another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. Sindoor, a bright red vermilion powder, holds deep cultural and religious significance in Hinduism. Traditionally worn by married women along the parting of their hair, it is a visible symbol of matrimony, a sacred mark that signifies a woman's status as a wife. The choice of Sindoor was no accident. It was a deliberate and calculated move by the Indian government, one designed to resonate deeply with the Hindu majority and to evoke a visceral reaction. By naming the operation after this potent symbol of womanhood, India was framing the strikes not just as a military operation, but as an act of revenge, a righteous defense of its mothers and daughters. The symbolism was not lost on the Indian public. The name Sindoor struck a chord, particularly with those who had lost loved ones in the Pahalgam attack. For many, it evoked the image of the widows left behind, their foreheads forever bereft of the sacred red powder. The government had tapped into a deep well of grief and anger, channeling it into support for a military operation that carried enormous risks. The name also served as a stark reminder of the human cost of the conflict. It brought the tragedy of the Pahalgam attack into sharp focus, forcing people to confront the pain and suffering inflicted by terrorism. It was a potent reminder that this was not just a conflict between nations, but a war for the very soul of India. In the immediate aftermath of Operation Sindoor, the world held its breath. The international community, caught off guard by the audacity of the Indian strike, reacted with a mixture of condemnation and concern. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, urging both sides to exercise restraint and to avoid any actions that could further escalate the situation. The United States, caught in the middle of its own geopolitical rivalry with China, a close ally of Pakistan, issued a carefully worded statement. While acknowledging India's right to self-defense, the US called for de-escalation and urged both countries to engage in dialogue. China, predictably, condemned the Indian strikes as a violation of Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity, warning of serious consequences if India continued its provocative actions. The spectre of nuclear war, however distant, loomed large over the crisis. India and Pakistan, both possessors of nuclear arsenals, had come perilously close to conflict in the past. The international community, acutely aware of the catastrophic consequences of a nuclear exchange, urged both sides to step back from the brink. The situation remained tense, the threat of further escalation palpable. Both India and Pakistan had mobilized troops along the line of control, the de facto border that divides Kashmir. Skirmishes and artillery exchanges became increasingly frequent, each incident raising fears of a wider conflict. The world watched and waited, hoping that cooler heads would prevail, praying that the flames of war would not be ignited once more.